UK WordPress user group. You can join our Slack group, which is full of WordPressers from the UK. You can go to wpslack.uk. And I feel we've missed some horribly important thing out, but I can't remember what it is. So
we don't have to do fire regulations or anything this time, Tim.
Do we not? If there is a fire in your house, please tell us on Slack on the way out. But then run away. And the pizza's not sponsored because we haven't got any. So there we go. That's the end. Sue,
oh
it's
well,
over
I'm
to
out of here. See you guys. If there's no pizza, there's no. Oh man, this is not entertaining whatsoever.
I apologize.
I thought you were going to announce home delivery, Tim.
We could try. might not go very well. It'd be a bit cold by the time I get it round to you all. So I think we'll hand over to Sue. Sue, over to you.
Thanks very much.
So I'm Sue Johnson. I'm currently a digital degree apprentice doing software development at NHS Digital, and I was previously a WordPress developer and designer. And on the internet, I'm Sue's Design. So if you want to tweet me, at Sue's Design. And I'm going to do a talk on WordPress custom post types. So what is a custom post type? If you log into the WordPress admin area on a new site, you will see posts and you will see pages. You will not see custom post types. That's because the custom post types actually require some custom code. So the sorts of things that you can use custom post types for, you might have a directory, a portfolio, events listing, recipes, people profiles, frequently asked questions, things like that. And what happens a lot of the times, people don't know that custom post types exist, so they try and repurpose pages or posts to do this. And it can cause a problem. Say, for example, if you had portfolio items listed on pages and then had a drop-down menu for all the portfolio items, you have to keep manually adding them to that menu. And sooner or later, your drop-down menu goes past the edge of the page. So it can be quite limiting. So a much better solution is actually to use custom post types to do this sort of thing. So I'm aware that a lot of people that join the talk are not developers. So I'm just going to go through a few things that you need to know to understand the talk if you're not a developer, just so that you don't get left behind. The programming language that's used to create WordPress functionality is PHP. So we're going to be having a look at some PHP today. And HTML is used for the markup for content in websites. So the headings, text, and so forth. So we're looking at those today. There's also CSS, which creates the style in the websites, and JavaScript uses the functionality in the browser, but we won't be looking at those today. Now, your website, if you've got one, runs on a web server. If you've got a web hosting plan, in order to do development, you're also going to need to have a web server on your computer where you can develop your WordPress website. So in order to set that up, professionals will use things like Docker and Vagrant. So you may hear those in talks. It makes sure everybody's the same development environment, but really easy for beginners if you're just working on your own sites, MAMP or XAMPP, which you can just download, and they're free. All of these are free. So you'll also need a code editor with syntax highlighting. I can recommend Visual Studio Code. It's free. It's got lots of extensions. There's also a few other things like PHP Storm, which you have to pay for. In your directory of your website, you will see a folder that says WP content. And as you might imagine, themes go in the themes folder and plugins go in the plugins folder. So if you don't want to, if you're not so keen on coding, there are plugins available to create custom post types, such as a pods plugin, or you can generate some code using generatewp.com. But today we're going to be looking at creating some custom code. So you can use functions.php file in the theme to create custom post types. But the problem with this is that if you change the theme, then you lose all your custom posts. So it's much better to put custom post types within a plugin, and then you can change the theme if you want to. So we're going to look at creating a plugin today and putting some custom post types in that plugin. To start off with, you need to create a folder in the plugins folder and give it a name, e.g. my plugin, and create a PHP file to go in the plugin and call it the same name as a folder, myplugin.php. The things that you need to do to create custom post type: you will need to create custom post type labels or functionality for the custom post type. You will then output the custom post type on a single page template if you want, but you don't have to. And you will probably want to output a list of custom post types on its own template. So you get, say, for example, if you were doing a list of projects, you would get a list of all the projects on that page. So once you've created your file, you're going to need to put some code at the top of the plugin file so that the WordPress knows that that's the plugin. And you can find some more information about how to create plugins and what code you need to use on the WordPress.org site. Now, there's a couple of approaches to PHP that you may come across. Procedural, which most examples of WordPress code and articles and tutorials uses procedural code, and it's easy to get started with. There's also object-oriented, and that uses classes which are extensively immutable. It's preferred by professional developers, where it is a little bit more difficult to learn. And if you're just working on your own site, procedural PHP will work perfectly fine. And I am actually going to show a couple of examples of both. But we've got the plugin codes that we're going to be looking at, that will be procedural code, so it's easier to understand. So you're going to need some labels for your custom post type, and what they do is that in the admin area, you're going to want to have settings for being able to add new, whatever your custom post type is, edit it. You're going to want the name for it, singular name, and so on. And as well as the labels for the plugin, you're also going to want some functionality for the custom post type. So in this example, it says the line that says supports array title thumbnail. That means that that custom post type will have a title and a thumbnail. You can also add things like content, excerpts, and so on. The showing rest line above that, that's needed for using the WordPress API. And if you put that in your custom post type code, then that will enable you to use the Gutenberg blocks. And if you don't leave that out, you'll just get the old style WYSIWYG editor. You also need to register your post type to tell WordPress that that is your post type. And you will also, the add action, this is a function so that we've created. So you need to call the function before it runs. And the add action is a WordPress custom function. So it will call, the function name is PVS register post type, and it will call it on init is when somebody actually loads the website page. There are various hooks that you can add your action to, depending on what you want, but for a custom post type, just use init. So this will actually tell WordPress about your custom post type. It will give it some labels, it will give it some functionality, but you're going to want to actually get the thing to appear on a page template. So WordPress uses a template hierarchy, which you can look up on the WordPress.org website. So the template hierarchy, this is kind of simplified for a single custom post type. It will first look for a file called single, followed by your post type name.php. If it doesn't find that, it will look for a file called single PHP, which will be in by default in your theme, and that will by default output single post in your theme. and if it doesn't find that file, it will look for index.php. So in order to create a template for your single post, for the custom post type, you just need to actually make it that name. So you could just copy the single PHP file from your template, from your theme, and you can change the functionality. Say, for example, you probably won't want dates, so you could delete that. If you use a off-the-shelf theme, you will need to make a child theme to add files to the theme, because otherwise, when you update the theme, then your custom template will disappear. You can alternately put the templates in your plugin file, and you can just put some code to tell WordPress where to find them instead of looking in the theme. So to get a listing of your posts, because so far you've got a single post, but you want a listing of your posts, you will need to use a WordPress loop. Now this shows the basic WordPress loop, and this is what you would use if you were just outputting plain posts. So you're going to need to slightly change that to actually get your custom post type. And in order to do that, you can use a custom WP query. So that's a little bit more complicated. So it's an example of the type of code that you need. And this is very simple. It just outputs the title of all the posts, and it goes through all your custom posts, post type of my custom post, that you just put the name of your post. So it goes through all your posts and outputs a list of them. And eventually when it gets to the end, it stops. And the WP reset post data, that's good practice to use, because then if you output another type of custom post, then WordPress won't get confused. In this sample of code, if there are no posts to output, after the else at the bottom, it will come up with a message saying no post match your criteria. So now that you've got some code, you'll need to zip up the file and upload the plugin via the WordPress admin, or you can use FTP to upload the files to the plugins folder, and you will then need to activate the plugin. And we are going to see some examples of some fully built plugins, so you can get a bit more idea of what goes in the plugin. To make your custom post appear, you need to activate the plugin. You need to switch permalinks off and back on again, or alternately, you can add some code which will make the custom post appear once the plugin is activated. And that's quite good if you want to distribute the plugin, or if you want maybe the client that you're developing the plugin for might switch the plugin on and off again. So then once you've activated the plugin, you'll be able to see on your WordPress dashboard, there'll be a new type of custom post. In this example, we've got regular events, and you can see the labels that we added earlier, add new regular events, and so on there. And obviously this has got some posts already created within the regular events. And it's just the same as if you were creating a normal post. It's exactly the same process. You just add whatever content that you like for each post. So if you want to use custom fields within your template files that you're using to output your custom post types, a good idea is to use advanced custom fields, because it's a lot easier to use that than it is to try and figure out custom fields in WordPress. And it's you create the custom field types in the WordPress admin, and then it's use some PHP to output the results on the front end of your website on your template pages, and that's easy to do. And it's as I said, it's a lot easier than trying to figure it all out from scratch. And I'm actually going to show an example where I've used that. So I'm now going to show some examples. So this is a plugin that I created for Budsy House, and this just shows a listing of events. So each event is one custom post. And as you can see, this is output a full list of posts, and then they actually output day by day as well on it for each day. So I'll just show you the code for that. So this is the plugin. So you can see that here there's some templates. So you've got, this is the listing for the entire post that we saw earlier. So you can see, we'll just get rid of that. You can see, no, that's the custom terms. This uses taxonomies to create the custom dates. I can't find her. Yeah, here we go. So actually, that's not it. Oh, yeah, here we go. So this shows where it just says the fields. Those are the custom fields for the plugin that was just using the advanced custom fields. And this is the custom W query. So it will output the posts one by one and go through all this. So it outputs the different fields. And it then ends and then goes on to the next post. So there's no single post template for this because you don't need it. There's also, it uses taxonomies, so it's very similar template for taxonomies. And this is the main file for the plugin. So you can see here, this is registering the post with the labels that we saw from the slides, giving it the functionality, adding the action to tell WordPress that about the function. There's a taxonomy and some code which you can optionally have because the templates are within the plugin. So in this case, I've told WordPress where to find the templates. So these where it says time, day, location, and description, so forth, that they're all custom fields. Now, the other example that I'd like to show you, this is a portfolio that I did, and all the different portfolio items, they're all created using custom posts. So each one you can see on the individual post. And it also uses taxonomies, so all the posts with the taxonomy installation will come up, commissions and so forth. This is created slightly differently. This is actually created using object-oriented codes, and I'll just show you an example of that. So it's class-based. So we've got a file that pulls in all the different classes, and then it's one class per functionality. So this is the class that registers the posts, and it's slightly more complicated because you need to have a constructor in your function. So the add action goes in the constructor, and then this sort of looks similar to the code that we saw before, creating the labels, creating the post, the functionality, registering it. And at the end, this line of code here that calls that creates object from the class, which if you don't do that, WordPress won't be able to see it. So you need to do that to make it happen. So this also uses taxonomy as well. And that's used in a very similar way to creating the custom post. There's also on here, on this menu here, that's just created using a custom widget, which you can optionally have, and it outputs like the title of each custom post as a menu item, but you don't actually have to have that if you don't want. Right, so that's it. Has anybody got any questions?
I was just going to say, Sue, thank you for speaking. This talk's been a long time coming because we did actually have Sue booked in for March, wasn't it? And then we had to cancel the meetup, so we couldn't have it. So thank you again, Sue. Do you want to stop recording screen?
Yeah.
So does anyone have